Reign of Fire is a fantasy sci-fi movie that came out in 2002. It follows Quinn, a fire chief who's trying to keep a group of refugees alive while the dragons they woke up 20 years prior are terrorizing humanity's every move. So, spoiler alert, obviously. While I may give you my opinion on the film, that's no substitute for experiencing it yourself. Links to the film are in the description. Like the video if you enjoy and subscribe to see more. Surprisingly, this film starts out with some seriously dramatic opening credit visuals and sounds. It almost sets up something that feels more like an Armageddon movie than a modern dragon-infested film. It's a nice touch. We follow a young Quinn who just walks into an obviously active construction site. All these workers are leaving while this little boy just waltzes right by them to an elevator. An elevator that feels like it's the mode of transport to hell. It just kept going down a never-ending tunnel shaft. Obviously, this was before OSHA put laws up about children in the workplace. Once at the bottom, he runs into his mother who questions him about what's bothering him. This boy came all the way down there to hand his mother a paper from school about tuition. That seriously couldn't have waited until she got off of her shift. The school requires more than she can afford, so Quinn brings up his father contributing, which isn't taken lightly. This alludes to the fact that his parents are apparently not together anymore. When a worker tells Quinn's mother that another worker has hit a void, it brings her attention to this new apparent problem. Quinn goes and talks to another worker who has opened a new hole of discovery. He then hands Quinn a flashlight and tells him to go in. Seriously? He hands Quinn a flashlight, tells him to go on in this giant void, and walks off. No sense of responsibility whatsoever shown so far. While inside the cave, Quinn notices some strange textures on the wall, and that's when the void becomes illuminated by fire, revealing a living, breathing dragon that spits a viscous bodily fluid in his eyes. Quinn runs back to his mother, who surprisingly takes him to an eye-washing station after she lightly reprimands the worker for sending him in. Two workers run back to the void Quinn came from, only to be set ablaze by the same dragon. Quinn and his mother run to the elevator and begin rising, only to have the dragon chase them up the shaft and stop the elevator. During the dragon's ascent, it kills Quinn's mom with its talons, which seem to haunt Quinn for years to come. This leads to a montage of information on dragons that propels us through time while a young Christian Bale narrated how screwed mankind was. An interesting little tidbit of info that I'm sure so many of you that have seen this should have seen coming. The dragons featured in this movie are actually wyverns. Wyverns have 2 legs whereas dragons have 4. Now, mankind has fled the cities only to live in underground tunnels, similar to those in which the first dragon was discovered. The year is now 2020 and technology has taken a turn for the worse. Now we're introduced to a young Creedy, played by Gerard Butler, who is putting on a show for the younger kids in the community. Surprisingly, his fake acting still isn't his worst acting to date. Creedy and Quinn are putting on a Renaissance-looking version of Star Wars. This just goes to show that the community might be going through some hard times, but it's still thriving. Once everyone is asleep, a group of mutineers work together to make off with vehicles to leave the camp vulnerable. They make their way to where the crops for the community are being grown and begin to ravage the crops that are meant for all of them. In the meantime, a spotter at the community sounds the alarm, signifying that a dragon has been spotted and the community goes into lockdown. This makes one of the girls, the significant other of one of the mutineers, tell Quinn about them leaving. It seems to be too late for them though, as their picking of crops is cut short by a dragon coming over the horizon. The dragon begins to burn the crops and the mutineers, bit by bit. In their attempt to flee, the dragon burns their vehicle, which causes them to take shelter in the burning crops. It's good to know that dragons are more innovative than humans when it comes to survival. It's in this instance that Quinn comes emerging through the flames in a flame-retardant suit. Probably one of the most epic scenes I've seen in a while. He rescues the remaining mutineers and takes them to the vehicles some community members brought to save them. The dragon dispatches 2 of them like they're nothing, while the other 2 frantically flee the scene while they're watching the crops burn. Interestingly, the dragon lets them go and collects the ash from the field instead. Quinn and Creedy sit back at the fortress while having a stiff drink. Quinn begins to question if the way they've been doing things is all wrong. Honestly, if it weren't for selfish people, I think they had a pretty self-sufficient community going there. The radio man for the community picks up a transmission for what seemed to be the first time in a very long time, signifying that they aren't alone anymore. At the same time, the spotter sounds the alarm when he sees a tank come over the horizon towards them. The tank and a whole convoy come to a halt just outside of their gates. The tank hatch opens and Van Zandt, played by Matthew McConaughey, emerges and demands to speak with whoever is in charge. Have no fear, the Americans are in the United Kingdom somehow. Creedy even makes a comment saying only one thing worse than a dragon: Americans. Despite having top billing on the film, Matthew McConaughey's appearance here comes a full 30 minutes into the film. Quinn speaks with him and suspects him of foul play. He tells him to leave while Van Zandt pulls out a dragon tooth, proving that he has the power to kill the dragons. Van Zandt's story of how he managed to bring down a dragon makes Quinn pause and reconsider everything. He explains that there's a golden hour between day and night that makes their senses less attuned. That's the hour where humans have a chance to get around their heightened senses. He allows them to take shelter at their fortress for a day. In what seemed to be a magnificent show of force, their helicopter just pops up and lands. This is where we meet Alexander, who is Van Zandt's pilot. After they've been settling in for a bit, the alarm for another dragon sounds. While the community members run to their shelters, the Americans prepare for a battle. While they're getting ready for their showdown with the dragon, one of Van Zandt's members gets taken out, which leaves Quinn to get his equipment placed. During this time, a fantastic air chase happens with some of Van Zandt's guys wingsuiting with the dragon on their tail. For 2002, the graphics and interaction are phenomenal. As Quinn helps lure the dragon to Van Zandt while on horseback, Van Zandt makes his one-shot count, and he brings the dragon down in the middle of the community. This leads to the community celebrating with the Americans that night in a party they haven't seen in decades. Van Zandt and his remaining crew crash the party in the middle of the celebration and deliver a reasonable yet soul-crushing monologue explaining how one dead dragon is nothing to celebrate. He says a quote here that sticks with me even now: "Envy the country who has heroes, pity the country that needs them." Van Zandt and Alex explain their theory of how to kill the species. Apparently, they've only ever killed and seen females. They believe that there is only one male that fertilizes all the eggs in one fell swoop. Kill the male, kill the species. Van Zandt explains that he's out of men and out of resources, and that's why he's there. He wants to recruit from the community and continue tracking the male, which he believes is housed somewhere nearby. I'll give you one good guess where that might end up being. Van Zandt gives his speech to the people to help recruit soldiers. After only 4 volunteers, Van Zandt decides to take 6 by force. This causes Quinn to fight Van Zandt, where he quickly realizes that he's outmatched. Here's another fun fact for you. Christian Bale initially figured his character should have been scrawny, considering it's a post-apocalyptic movie. After seeing how Matthew McConaughey looked on the first day of filming, he quickly changed his mind and bulked up. He figured this fight wouldn't have looked realistic or believable at all if Matthew was buff and Christian was scrawny. As Quinn wanders around the burnt crops from before, he soon realizes that the adopted son he had kind of taken under his wing decided not to volunteer for Van Zandt's army after all, and was still there with him. It was definitely a touching moment in a movie that just doesn't have any. Van Zandt arrives just outside of London, where a massive dragon stalks his army. He quickly realizes that he has located the male he had mentioned earlier. As the dragon burns his entire convoy, Alex has been in the air looking for a way to the town. When she makes it back to where she left Van Zandt, she finds that everyone but Van Zandt and one other has been burnt to a crisp. Now the male is aggravated. He makes his way to the community and sets it ablaze with only a few breaths. Quinn rides his horse back to the community that Creedy is trying to rally. Once he arrives, he comes face to face with the dragon as it flies off. He rushes into the burning tower to rescue whoever he can, and he comes face to face with Creedy, who is saving kids and taking them down to the shelter. While he's bringing more kids down, the dragon comes back. If dragons could have personal vendettas, this is the one. Literally, as Quinn sends Creedy back out to get more, the dragon shoots flame all the way down the stairs and burns him to a crisp. This literally takes seconds. It's the quickest, most abrupt goodbye to a beloved character ever. After the shock has subsided from the characters' lives, there comes a knock on the door, and Quinn jumps over and starts banging on the door that seems stuck. The absolute last thing I would be doing is banging on the door that humongous dragon could have been outside of. Lo and behold, once the door gives way, we see that it is none other than Alex, Van Zandt, and the one other survivor. While I'd be happy to see another human instead of a rampaging dragon, that's the last face I would have wanted to see. But Van Zandt's first words are, "You are right," so that's satisfying in itself. As the survivors emerge from the rubble, Van Zandt salvages what he can for weapons. Quinn gets all super soldier on Van Zandt when he explains the plan for what comes next. Quinn tells him he knows where to find the male and that it will just be him, Van Zandt, and Alex on the mission to bring him down. They land their helicopter just outside London, which looks like a nuke had been dropped on it. Dragons are perched on the rooftops around the town, and this is definitely the town you don't want to sneak into. In what is a magnificent show of the spectrum, the male dragon makes a sound far off, and literally 100 dragons swarm from the town. This whole time we've been struggling with a tiny dragon. Now there's 100 and the one male that is the size of 10 females. And after watching the male catch a female and start eating her, the 3 survivors decide it's a good time to run into town and yell commands to each other. How Quinn has survived for 2 decades, I'll never understand. They run into tunnels that are similar to the ones that Quinn's mom worked on in the beginning. As they get ready to go back to the surface, they realize one of the dragons is stalking them from above. The crew jump on a broken elevator cab to access the shaft, which gives Quinn flashbacks of his mother. When he pushes through it, we know he means business. As they prep for their final showdown, Alex and Van Zandt reminisce that this was not how they imagined this going. Alex expected to be in the skies, and Van Zandt expected to have 200 men, but now their plan involved being face to face with the dragon. Motivational. Okay, again, this dragon must just be an angry creature because the second it flies over them, it blows fire. It doesn't even know they're there, it's just blowing fire to blow fire. Their window has arrived and they begin to run through the streets in different directions. Even I'm confused about the plan now. Quinn makes it to cover only to realize his explosive tip arrows fell out of his pocket, which changes the plan a little. As Alex runs as a decoy, Van Zandt posts up on a tower and fires a bolt at the dragon, which I can't tell if it actually damaged it or just made it angrier. But he takes this chance to leap at the dragon with a battle axe. This movie has played out more like a Monster Hunter movie than the actual Monster Hunter movie did. Obviously, he doesn't kill the dragon. He's eaten in one fluid motion in midair. Quick little final facts about Matthew here. He mentions that he had shaved his head before filming due to losing his hair. He also told the entire crew to call him Van Zandt anytime they saw him on and off the set. Quinn takes this chance to run out and bring Alex to cover before taking charge of the situation. The dragon spots them and chases them on foot through the streets. Once Quinn finds his missing explosive tip, he runs for it. To buy him time, Alex runs out and spray shoots the dragon with her M16. Genius! Quinn hesitates to pull the trigger until the dragon finally opens his mouth again, giving Quinn the perfect shot. It blows up in the dragon's mouth, and just like that, it's dead. If this movie is excellent at anything, it's anticlimactic resolutions and deaths. Alex comes over to Quinn and offers a few comforting words. Literally just a few comforting words. Nothing else. No thanks, no motivation, no hug, or anything. Just a quick, he knew you could do it. Thanks, Alex. I don't know what we would have done without your charming words. Seriously, now that we're here at the end, I can safely say that Alex is one of the most pointless main characters ever. While we may have needed a helicopter pilot for the one dragon in the middle of the film, ultimately it could have just been named Helicopter Pilot. There was no actual character story, added quality, or even romance for her character. I would have happily traded Alex to keep Creedy around for the final showdown. We now pan over Quinn, Alex, and a bunch of survivors building an antenna of some kind. The kid Quinn took under his wing rides up and says that he's receiving a transmission from the French now, signifying that other survivors around the world are reaching out now. Quinn mentions that it's been 3 months since their last dragon sighting, and he's become somewhat of a badass now, saying that he'll just kill the next one they see. He proceeds to pick up what looks to be Van Zandt's battle axe, and he walks off over the hillside with Alex in hand. And the end. Just like that, it's over. All in all, Reign of Fire is one of those surprising films that shouldn't make sense, but it does. It comes across as a cheesy idea, but they made it a serious film that worked. By all accounts, I shouldn't have enjoyed the movie as much as I did. If anyone ever wanted to see a movie with dragons and fire extinguishers in the same universe, then I would absolutely recommend this film. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like it, leave a like on the video and suggest what I should watch next. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, and I'll see you in the next video.